Good afternoon. In this video, we're going to go over this week's options watch list. Before I get into the watch list, if you're not in the room, you can find the link in the description of the video and in my bio section of social media accounts. Also, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. This week's going to be kind of crazy. Got a lot going on. We have an emergency Fed meeting tomorrow at I think 11:30. Correct me if I have the time wrong, but I believe it's 11:30. I think it's 11:30. Put the call ratios of 1.11. It's pretty high, not compared to what it's been at one point in time. The high was right around the 1.3 area, so 111 is not really much. Can definitely go a lot higher, so you don't want to think of a short squeeze yet because of that. Let's see, I'm just looking over some things now. The economic calendar, well, we got a lot going on. We'll just get over the economic calendar first. We got CPI on Tuesday, 8:30. We have CPI. Wednesday, we have PPI, retail sales, and consumer sentiment on Friday, and inflation expectations on Friday too. So Thursday, unemployment claims. So yeah, I'm jumping around. Went from Tuesday, Wednesday to Friday. I didn't see any red boxes on Thursday, so I kind of skipped it, went to Friday. But yeah, we have unemployment claims on Thursday. So we've got a busy week on the economic calendar. We get the banking issue that's happening right now. We get the emergency Fed meeting that's happening tomorrow. Yellen said that she's not going to bail out the Silicon Valley Bank. At least that's what she's saying right now. I mean, she flip-flops left and right. So we could see a very volatile week this week. So I got VIX up right now. We actually touched this trend line we have right here going on the weekly. We touched it, rejected it. Did pull back quite a bit, but there's just a lot more banks failing. People are rushing to their banks to get money out. ATMs are refusing money. I mean, people riot over the smallest things lately. So when you take their money away, you don't give people access to the money. You could see a full-blown riot, anarchy coming out. I mean, we could see some really bad stuff happening, especially if banks are refusing to give customers their money. I mean, we could see some really next-level anarchy, riot stuff happening this week if that ends up happening. I mean, as of right now, I haven't seen any reports of riots yet, but I keep thinking of the situation in China where people were smashing banks, setting banks on fire and ablaze because they couldn't get their money out. And now our banks are in the U.S. are having issues, and Silicon Valley is tanking, and people can't get their money, and people are lining up at the banks. So I mean, I think it's just a matter of time before we start seeing riots on banks and stuff like that, and just seeing complete anarchy if the banking situation gets worse. So I mean, I could be just overreacting or just being pessimistic about all of it, but I pretty much called the entire COVID shutdown thing and before it happened, and you can look at the timestamps in the room. I said VIX was going to go to 100 and SPY was going to go to 250. I was very close on both, and people just didn't think that was going to happen. But I mean, if this anarchy and banking situation gets really out of hand, we could definitely see VIX at 50, and we could see SPY down to 300, at least 350 to 300. So it really depends on the level of madness that happens. But I think we're in for a very volatile week, and VIX, we could end up seeing VIX at 50 this week. I don't know. It will literally all depend on what happens with banking. Is it going to get worse? Is there going to be bailouts? As of right now, there's no bailouts being spoken of. But one thing I want to point out is whenever we have a big engulfing red candle on the weekly. We get an engulfing right here. We get an engulfing right here, and right here. And we have more downside, more downside, more downside. Not much right there. So I'm thinking, we could see probably definitely 380, if not maybe 360, 350 this week, depending on how bad things get. We'll have to see how the futures opens up tonight. So definitely keep an eye on more downside. I'm still thinking until the banking issue resolves. We're going to keep shorting the pops, and we have the economic calendars, economic data coming out this week with inflation. So the Fed's backed in the corner where people are complaining about high interest rates and high inflation. You can't have one without the other. You cut rates, inflation's going to peak, it's going to pop. And if you keep raising rates, inflation will come down, but things are going to get more and more expensive. So the Fed is backed themselves into a corner. And no matter what they do, one thing that's going to end up balancing out the other. You cut rates, inflation's going to pop. And if you keep going with rates, inflation will drop, but, things will spike for like the mortgage rates and stuff like that. I mean, credit card crisis is going up. You're going to see more bankruptcies, more foreclosures, more credit card delinquencies. You just going to be a real bunch of bad stuff is going to end up happening in the next few months. I mean, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but you got to be realistic here. People can't afford their mortgages. They're paying credit cards. They're living credit card to credit card. Credit card debt's going through the roof. Bankruptcies, divorces, car loan delinquencies, repos. I mean, just a lot of bad stuff on the horizon. Nothing is bullish, not even earnings. So really just keep shorting the pops is all I can say. So that's my basically thesis for the week. Like I said, 380. That's going to be the next big level. We breaks 380. We're going to 370, 360, and possibly even 350. It's definitely within reason, within range to be in the 360 area. So we'll have to see what happens with that. Now, other things that actually look good for a pullback is BA, Boeing. I mean, it did finish green right here, but look at the weekly. It's still within the channel. It gets below this 196. We can even see 197 level right here. It gets below that. It's going to end up dropping pretty good. We could see 190, 185, 180, 175 in this big area right here, 170 right there. So definitely get some room. The trend line is down here from the weekly trend line where we broke out of. It's down here at the 160, 162, 165 area. So it's got definitely room to drop on BA. So market tanks, definitely watch BA. NVDA is another one. Even though I was thinking NVIDIA would pop, the crisis within banks is probably not helping it. So I would watch underneath the 225 area. Gets underneath 225. Look for a gap fill down to the 210 area. So definitely can see a gap fill down to 210 on NVIDIA. So keep an eye on that. Speaking of banks, we're going to put JP Morgan up. Had this really bad day on Thursday and Friday. Had a nice strong green day. So, I'm going to watch underneath 132. If I remember correctly, last time I traded JP Morgan, they had dollar strikes, and it actually did pay pretty well. So if it ends up having like a $5 a day drop or a pop, I'm actually be looking for a drop for the drop on it. But $5 drop on a dollar interval can actually end up paying pretty well. So JP Morgan, I will put up and watch underneath 132 for push down to the 130. Lower day down here is the 127, 128 area. 128 will just round up. Gets below this 128, even though I got bought right here. If there's more headlines going on with banks, it's got a ways to drop. I mean, we get some gap fills down here, right there at the 110. Be kind of crazy to see JP Morgan down to 110, but did it fill the gap down here? Yeah, see this gap right here from November 2020. It filled it right there, so kind of crazy how that works. I did fill it. We got a gap fill right here that could end up filling down to the 110. So definitely keep an eye on JP Morgan and the banking crisis. BIDU is another one I've been watching. I would like to trade it, but it just the spreads are too bad, or There's no volume, but I mean, if something looks good, if you can find a strike that's got some volume that might actually do pretty good, I'd watch it underneath the 131 for push down to fill this gap right down here at the 124. Then you get a gap fill right down here at the 118. So definitely get some area to drop on that. So definitely keep an eye on Baidu. Microsoft is another one. Microsoft, it's channeling right between the 260 to 250. I mean, I think it gets below this area right here of 246. We could definitely see it drop down to 240, 235, 230 on Microsoft. So it's going to be a very, very volatile week. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be lots of ups and downs between the banking issue, any other civil unrest, if it happens. I don't know if it does. I'm just looking ahead, trying to think, I just can't help but think that people riot over the smallest reasons, and you take their money away and people will stop panicking. So, and panic will lead to desperation and will just lead to chaos and literally anarchy. So we could end up seeing something like that. And who knows what the Fed's going to do. So it's going to be a wild, volatile week. You're just going to take it one day at a time, one event at a time, day by hour by hour. And that's why you need to be in the room, because it's going to be chaos this week. So that's going to do it for the watch list. I hope to see you in the room. Thanks for watching.